This episode of Badass Agents Podcast is brought to you by Jason Smith team at Nova Home Loans. Jason, a Navy veteran, has been recognized as one of the top 100 loan originators in the country. There is no task too big or too small for the Jason Smith team. Every client counts. For the best rates and great service, contact Jason at 480-227-6231 or visit novahomeloans.com. I personally stand by his service, and so do thousands of satisfied clients. That's Jason Smith at Nova Home Loans. NMLS number 210839. That's why I don't stop. I don't want my life to erode to what it was. I need to continue on the momentum. I have to light a fire under my ass. I have to move with a sense of urgency regardless of how good my life has been. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I am your host, Araujo, and as a reminder, please make sure to subscribe to Badass Agents Podcast. You can catch a replay of this in about a week. And if this helps you, again, just share it with your friends, family, someone that needs this spark, right? That needs this type of environment, this type of energy to help them get going so they could become better business owners, better fathers, a better person to their spouses, right? And that's a stewardship I think we all have, is to set an example for others to follow. And, living in this integrity, living with this passion, and it feels so good to feel so good. And today is no exception. Now, I do want to talk about, a sense of urgency and how important it is that we stay in our game, especially now. In our industry, things are going really good. But, I think there's a part of us that wants to feel entitled that it's always going to be this way when it's not. And I want to propose to you a few things that you need to think about, in order to make sure that you stay on your game. Because feeling so good only comes on the back of the hard work, and it disappears at the moment you stop doing the work. But I did get back from Denver just last night. My plane didn't land till about 10:30 last night. And by the time I got home and went to bed, it was past midnight. And, I get up at 4:30 in the morning for this, to make sure that I work out. And I go with a group of guys, and it's part of this 30-day challenge. So during this process, at no time did I think I was not going to make it. At no time did I say, well, tomorrow I don't think I'm going to make it. Regardless of what was going on the night before, I have responsibilities. I have to show up. I can't come with an excuse of, I got home late. I'm too tired. I understand that there's going to be obstacles in my way. There's going to be obstacles in my marriage. That doesn't mean I'm going to give up on my marriage. I got obstacles in my business. It doesn't mean I'm just going to take the day off from my business. What it means is that I work through it, knowing that it's going to be tough. Navigating through this process is tough. And it never crosses my mind. It's just something that I do. If I say that I'm going to do something, it's just become a process that I do it. Now, one of the things that I want you to consider is that, at first when you're trying to start a conditioning process, it's very tough. This wasn't my mindset all the time. I've conditioned myself to know that if I have a task at hand, I will complete it regardless of what's going on around me, what's going in within me, what's the thoughts that are going in my mind. I have certain things that I have to do. And again, didn't go to bed until like 12:30, had to wake up at 4:30, but I'm up, I'm fired up. As a matter of fact, I'm feeling so good right now, right? Because I did what I was supposed to do. Now, if you haven't followed, we currently have a do the work challenge, right? Which is to get in shape in 30 days, to show yourself what you can do, to condition yourself on what it's going to take, in order for you to find that deeper level within you, right? A sense of direction and a sense of commitment and consistency. This challenge has changed the dynamic of many people's lives because they've never been this consistent. But there is something that happens when you are consistent for a certain amount of time. There is something that we convince ourselves of when we show up for a period of time. And that is entitlement. There's an entitlement that sets in, especially when you start seeing the results of something. When you work really, really hard for your business and you go through all that pain and you go through all the roller coaster of emotions that comes with trying to build a business and you finally start getting the groove of things, there's a certain thing that comes on the backside of that is very dangerous. As you're trying to repair your marriage and you go on these date nights and you make it a conscious effort to make sure that when you get home, that you're connected at home with your family, with your kids, right? That you compliment your spouse, that you listen to your spouse, that you have the right conversations. There is something that comes on the back of that is very, very dangerous. And that is a sense of entitlement. But there is a danger, right? A danger zone, a stranger danger that comes on the backside of that, which is a sense of entitlement. And one of the things that part of this group on the Bravo group, on the Do the Work Challenge, I heard many people say, hey, I thought about taking the day off. I try to make it an option, right? Because I've seen the gains, or I should say the losses, right? The weight loss, and they're feeling good. And whenever we get to this point where we achieve something, we want to feel entitled to take the time off. We want to feel entitled to relax, to take it easy, because we work so hard. And that was the mindset. This conversation the last 2 weeks, right? These individuals have been working really, really hard. They made a lot of sacrifices, AKA investments in themselves. Investments in making sure that they eat the right foods, that they work out their body properly. They've made a lot of investments. And on the backside of that, there is results. I mean, some of these individuals already lost 10, 15 pounds in only 2 weeks. Their confidence is through the roof. And there's this sense of entitlement that I've worked really, really, really hard. You know, if I take the day off today, it's not really going to make a difference because look at the hard work that I've done. If I eat this extra bit of food that I'm not supposed to, it's not part of the game plan. If I overindulge in this side, it's not really going to make a difference because I've worked so hard. And this is the game that we have to understand, and we have to play it with intention, which is not to succumb to this form of entitlement. The entitlement tells you, go ahead, take it off, take it easy, relax. Look at the results that you show. You're all right. You've arrived. You've arrived. It's always going to be this good. And one of the things that I realize is that nothing ever stays the same. You're either going to grow or you're going to start eroding any progress you've made. You're either going to get better or you're not. You're going to get worse. There's not staying in a level playing field. And the sense of entitlement, we have to understand that it always comes on the back of hard work when things always go so good. And that's why I wanted to bring up the subject today. The subject of it has to be urgent. We have to move with a sense of urgency right now. And some of you are experiencing the best business you've ever had. The economy is doing super good. On the back of this COVID scare, people are moving, people are buying, people are investing. And in the industry that I'm in real estate, in the industry that I'm in coaching, in the industry that I'm in fitness, things are booming. And there's this part of you that may be thinking, I've worked so hard. I can take it easy right now. I got through this COVID thing. I was able to build more money, my bank accounts. Things are still going good right now. And this is the first step to eroding your business. I got a text message just yesterday. I'm not going to tell you who it's from, but I'm just going to read it. And it says, does it scare you sometimes when things are going too good? Does it scare you sometimes when things are going too good, like something is about to go wrong? Now, I used to look at that like, hey, I got to get used to like feeling good about things. I can't walk around scared. But I responded this way. I said, every day. That's why I don't stop. I don't want my life to erode to what it was. I need to continue on the momentum. I have to light a fire under my ass. I have to move with a sense of urgency regardless of how good my life has been. Because I also know the flip side of that. I also understand the pain that comes along with it, the suffering. Remembering how things used to be lights that fire within me. Never again. I've never been in a better position in my entire life. But it doesn't mean that I've arrived. It doesn't mean that I feel entitled. I could take the grand vacations. I can make some silly purchases. But it's the thought process, right? That if I slow down, if I relax, and it's a double-edged sword, but I'd rather be in this position where I'm like intentional about every aspect of my life than feeling entitled that my marriage is always going to be this way, that my business is always going to continue to grow, that my girls are always going to listen to my guidance. It's not. So I decide every day I got to move with the sense of urgency. I can't just sit back and look at everything that I've built and be like, all right, good job. Would that one day that I missed today make a big difference in the grand scheme of things? Probably not. But I know that I would not be in alignment with the integrity, with my own integrity, with my word, because I said I will be there. But yet we allow it as an option. You got to understand that when you commit to something, there is no options. When you decide it's an option, it's a form of entitlement. You don't deserve it. You need to work for it. And if your life is really good, don't kill the momentum by thinking it's always going to be this way. So we got to move with the sense of urgency. We got to move. We got to make decisions. We got to get our asses up and not think that I deserve this food. I deserve, time off. I deserve a vacation. I deserve to relax. Feeling so good always comes on the back of the hard, monotonous, painful work. And it's our job not to get to a point where we feel entitled. That is the first step to eroding any progress you've made. So when I'm getting home and going to sleep at 12 o'clock at night, I'm like, I deserved it. I went to my daughter's volleyball games, and this is the second week in a row. I can convince myself of why I shouldn't show up. And it might not be a big thing in the grand scheme of things, but it's a big deal to me. It's a big deal to my mindset. It's a big deal to the people that are listening to this podcast right now. I wouldn't come with the same energy, the same fire, same vigor, because I know there was a part of me that wasn't full integrity. Now, for those of you that have experienced good things over the last year, 2 years, 5 years in our industry, things have been really good. I know there's some industries that got hit really hard, and if you were in those industries, there's a comeback, and it's going to be powerful. It's going to be the greatest comeback story of your life, I promise you, because I've been on the flip side of this, right? In our industry, in the real estate industry, in the coaching industry, like things have been unbelievable. They've been unbelievable. Things are 10xing. I pulled numbers, and just from our brokerage alone, we are like 35, 40% ahead of where we were last year, and we were on fire last year. We had a sales meeting last week with our top producers for year to date. These guys are movers. And I would estimate that the average growth in their businesses was like 70% year over year growth. 70%. And yet there's a flip side to that. There's a grand majority of agents that are struggling right now, that are complaining about the market, complaining about the same thing today they were complaining about 6 months ago. It's so hard to get my buyer's offer accepted. What'd you think? It was going to be easy? You think this was going to be easy money? That your competition was just going to keel over and play dead? Your competition's getting better. Your competition is on the move. They're not just going to give up their position. As a matter of fact, they're going to do a hostile takeover yours. And they have. The producers move with a sense of urgency. They move fast. They don't hesitate. They're moving. They're going. Because average agents like, well, I worked so hard for my client. I finally got their offer accepted. I'm going to go take a vacation this weekend. Top producer moves fast. And that is the only way you can increase your profits in this industry is by moving fast, getting your clients under contract, getting them exactly what they want quickly. Get them under contract quickly. And what I see, again, with a lot of average agents, they put up a property on the market, and this is their philosophy, and I don't get it. I don't get it. And if it's you, you need to change your mindset. You need to start looking at what players do. Players get from point A to point B with a sense of urgency quickly, and they come up with solutions quickly. They move quickly, and they move on quickly, providing great service, of course. But I'll see an agent that gets their first listing or only gets a handful of listings, and they're the agents that waits through the weekend. They put it on Thursday. I'm going to wait through the weekend and present all the offers to my client on Monday. I'm like, what the hell are you thinking? For what? What do you want? What does your client want? If you can get that offer on that very Thursday, why isn't that deal under contract on Thursday? Why are you delaying your progression? Why are you slowing shit down? Why are you bombarding yourself with unnecessary calls, unnecessary text messages? So you can slow down your entire progression of your business. Like, what are you thinking? What does your client want? Get them that. Get them that on Thursday. Why are you waiting till Monday? You will not be able to move with like a top producer. Because as you're working in that one deal 5 days, they got 10 deals in those 5 days. Because all you did was wrap a big anchor around your ankle and drag more shit, more responsibility on you when it was unnecessary. But we got to break those cycles. We got to understand that's not how you move fast. That's not how you become proficient. You can still deliver at a high level for your clients quickly. But no, AZ, I'm gonna leave it for 5 days. I'm going to leave this deal on the market, get a lot more offers. When on the first day, you got the best offer. Everything else just slowed you down. It was mud. And you're wallowing in it. Now you get all these phone calls. Now your level of service is shit. You can't get back to these poor agents that are trying to submit their offers because you made it more difficult for everybody. You want to move like a top player? You move quickly, proficiently. And that's the problem. We don't see these patterns. We don't see these patterns and behaviors in our own business because we're so used to just going through the motions, making it an option, slowing our own progression down. Feeling entitled, well, I got this listing, so I'll just slow down the process because it feels so good to have a listing. I want to make others suffer because I've suffered. Right? You want to feel important? You want to get all these phone calls? You're never going to hit like those people in the room in a private only. Okay, is an invite only meeting of the top 25 individuals of our brokerage. You will always miss out to being in that room because you decided there's no sense of urgency. I'll just delay my momentum. I like to feel important. Get it done. so you can move on to the next and the next. That's what I'm talking about when I say you got to move with a sense of urgency. For me, I get things done quickly. I don't want to carry baggage longer than I have to. I need to come up with closure. Closure as soon as possible. I need to deliver quickly and efficiently and proficiently. So if you're in that space, you got to change your mindset. Otherwise, you will always be the average agent. Your business will always be just average. Because there's players like me, there's players in that room that I invited to that are just moving, making decisions. They make 20 decisions while you just try to make one. But it's a conditioning process, so I get it. And you got to go ahead and chop off that fat. That fat is entitlement. You got to do that. And you got to do that now, especially now. Even though the industry is really good, you got to do something about it because there's a big elephant in the room. It's hiding in the shallows. We all see it. We see the big shadow in the corner of the room, and we're pretending it's not there. And that shadow is inflation. Inflation. And do you know what inflation means? That means that you have less purchasing power. With the same dollar you're making today, you'll have less purchasing power with that dollar tomorrow. And inflation is a big thing. Like these houses are selling at high prices. And I don't think I've dealt with inflation in my lifetime, but I'm getting prepared for it, which means your dollar is going to be worth less. So if you're taking your time right now, thinking it's always going to be there, great. You probably made the most money possible, but you can buy less with it now. So the key to this is to make more money now, to be more proficient now, to deliver for your clients now. Because in the future, your same efforts are going to be worth less. And stop complaining, I can't get an offer except you've had the same complaint for the last 6 months. Stop it already and make shit happen. Stop it already. Get your ass up and start making some moves with a sense of urgency. Because those people that grew their business 75% average are not having the same complaints as you are. Because they understand that big elephant in the room is scary. And even though their business has been going really good for the last 2, 3, 4 years, they don't feel entitled they should take that time off. They're stacking their money. They're going after it even harder today because inflation is a big thing. It's a real thing that's coming your way. So what you want to do by having that sense of urgency, you're taking that future money and you're bringing it today where it's worth more. Because the longer you hesitate, the less it's going to be worth. So go ahead. You can pretend that big shadow of an elephant is not there. And take your sweet time and delay and parlay everything for your business. Or you can start making the moves that you know you should be making. Hiring those employees. Adding that software. Growing your team, doing your video marketing, sending your emails. You can delay all that, or you can bring the future funds to the now with a sense of urgency. And learning to move fast and is a responsibility. And guess what? A lot of you have the experience, the knowledge and perspective to make big moves, and you're refusing to make them. In fact, you're almost enjoying wallowing in that mud to feel important. Make moves. You lose out a deal, go back out there. You have a listing, get it under contract ASAP. Don't slow down your progression. Move with a sense of urgency so you have the energy to go get more clients, 10 more clients that need your assistance, that need your knowledge, that need your expertise. As opposed to you answering all these 60 phone calls, these text messages and emails, giving a false sense of hope to all these agents that have no chance. But because you want to gift the entire weekend, the hell's wrong with you? Get it done. Cut that anchor off your ankle. So that's what I want you to get today. Move with a sense of urgency. It is urgent. And you can't waste time. You can't get stuck in a rut. You can't have a fight at home and feel like it's okay. You got to make things right. You got to make things right because that's going to slow down your growth and your progression. Communicate with your spouse. Make things right. You guys have a lot of responsibility on you. And you got to take this type of energy with your clients. If you take a lackadaisical approach, those clients have been calling you about, trying to sell their home, but they're not so certain. They want to sell their home. Is that you brought them that uncertainty? Because you're uncertain about your ability to get them from point A to point B. That's why they're on the fence. Because when they called you and they told you that I want to sell, their lack of urgency came from your lack of urgency, from your lack of confidence. Because you're like, oh, wow, what if I can't find them another home? Why are you making an option? Find them another home. Get them what they want. And if your business is not growing, at minimum, from last year, volume-wise, and I'm talking volume because guess what? If we start talking like the sales revenue side of it, of course, the prices have gone up. I'm talking about volume. Units. If you're not up at least 20, 25% from last year, you're slowly being squeezed out. Because that's the market. All you're doing is riding the market. Those that had 70, 80, 120% growth over last year, they're growing. They're not just growing with the trends. They're being very intentional and moving with a sense of urgency. So look at your own numbers. And the way we did it, we simply took the unit amount from last year, from January through May. And then we compared it to this year, January through May. And we did a simple comparison. Take this year's numbers, subtract last year's numbers, and divide by last year's numbers, and it will give you the year-to-year growth. Take this year's numbers, subtract it by last year's numbers, divided by last year's numbers, will give you the year-to-year growth. If you're not at least 25% or more, all you're simply doing is riding the market. That means that any jackass out there doing hard work can get those results. And I'm not calling you that. Please don't misinterpret my passion for this, right? I just want to light that fire under you because I don't want you to suffer the consequences when the big elephant, the big shadow of an elephant in the corner comes stampeding into your world. Take last year's numbers, subtract this year's numbers, and divide it by last year's numbers. Sorry, I said that wrong. This year minus last year divided by last year. So if you're not there, then your business is slowly declining. Don't be content with that. Even though it may be more money because the values have gone up, you haven't really grown. Now when you show percentages, 75, 80, 120%, you're doing something right. You're going above and beyond. You're moving with a sense of urgency. You're proficient in what you do. You get from point A to point B quickly. You're delivering at a high level. You're firing on all cylinders. You have that ability. And if you're not in that room, you got to do something about it. And what I love about that, there's always the same people in that room. Why? Because they expect that from themselves. They expect it from themselves. It is no longer an option not to be in that room. And I told, there was a few people that this is probably the only time they're going to be in that room. Damn, what a heavy, heavy burden to take on. Knowing that you're capable of being in that room, but you always sabotage yourself to take yourself out of that room. That has to suck because you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe you belong there. You have to decide, where's your standard? And that standard is always on the backside of the urgency, the urgency that you have, which is on the backside of the work and the conditioning that you have to do on a daily basis. Are you willing to play that game? Because on the days you're unwilling to do, guess what those guys in that room are doing? Showing up. And the margin, all they're doing is increasing that margin. Every time you slow down, they increase that margin. I would hate to be in that place. That's why I move. That's why I get up and do what I'm supposed to do. No one's going to increase the margin. I'm the one who increases margins. I'm not going to allow others to. I'm a competitor. Move with the sense of urgency. If you get anything out of this, move with the sense of urgency. Stop the complaints. Get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Mindset Mastery. And again, if you haven't subscribed, rated, or reviewed, that's the only way we're going to continue to grow this podcast, is by you sharing, by you talking about it on your social media channels. And I do appreciate you. But more than anything, just make the moves that you're supposed to make. Again, thank you for everything. Thank you for being part of this. And I will talk to you soon. Bye now. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by AZ & Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.